So if we don't see that red light, it's all your fault, Ashwin.
Blame the Indian guy, sure. Technical support, huh? Stereotyping me.
Oh, shit. Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to have you guys back. And what an amazing guest I have for you today. Like, to welcome everyone back home to the House of Royale. This is episode 41. Before I intro this amazing genius, I would just like to say, go to the Patreon, patreon.com/House of Royale, and give us 10 grand. And I will give Ashwin 5. Not that he needs it because he's like closing deals on $1 million homes or whatever.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
And then I want you guys below to like, share, subscribe, all of the things on the YouTube, on Spotify. There's always a poll. There's always like a fun little game that you guys can play. Go on there, be interactive, give us 5 stars, give us a review, all of that. And I will see you in a second. And we're back. Oh my God, I just got the most insane advice, but we're going to follow up with that in a minute.
Oh, you don't want to share that advice. That's a secret piece of advice. Otherwise, it won't work.
Okay, never mind. We're not going to share. You guys, today I bring you a kind-hearted, visionary, genius, real estate agent, also stand-up comedian, and also has a gorgeous line of crystals, which all of you guys are going to go on the website and buy a bracelet today. What is it called?
Intention crystals.
Intention crystals. What is your intention? Everyone, please give it up for Mr. Ashwin Jacob. Woo!
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being here and for giving me a therapy session before we even started. I'm not going to even tell, I'm not going to tell anyone what we talked about, but you really did grow up with sisters, didn't you?
I did. Basically, what I gave you was the VIP package on my OnlyFans page.
Honestly, I would have paid for that. It really took the weight off my chest. It made me feel like men can actually hear what women are saying. Yeah,
you don't always want to provide a answer or solution. You just need to listen and be receptive to what's going on.
Oh my God,
I think
gentlemen.
Too many guys are trying to solve a problem. I just want to listen and know how you're feeling about that problem because you'll figure it out. You're a smart, beautiful, confident woman.
Winning. Just everything he just said, boys. I need every man in the world to just copy what Ashwin just said. That was beautiful, truly. Thank you, Ashwin.
You got this. You're going to figure it out.
You know, it's Mercury retrograde right now, and you have a line of crystals. What is your thought? Because I was look, not to bash on Matt Rife, but I think a lot of us girls were upset when he said Mercury retrograde does not exist. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think astrology, Vedic astrology is a big part of Indian culture for people where we're from. 2 is belief is a big onset to your success or what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think if you did think that hey, it's Mercury retrograde, but I'm going to do awesome stuff in spite of that, that can help you get over that. I think a lot of it is visualizing your own success instead of thinking that I'm trying to do something or I want to be doing something. It's changing the future tense to I am currently doing this.
Yes.
You know?
I know that manifestation is real. I know how powerful I am, and I know that the blocks that I have been living in for years, especially after everything I've told you with my family, it truly is living in these old stories, these old narratives that completely, energetically, scientifically keep us in our place. And every day I'm envisioning these huge, tall doors to my mansion, my house that I'm going to buy, and my all-female production team. And I know it's going to happen as soon as I let go of these old narratives. Do you have any advice?
Have you ever done rebirthing breath work?
I've heard of breath work.
Rebirthing breath work will change your life. I didn't believe in a lot of spirituality things. Met a shaman that studied in the Himalayan mountains, did a session, was next to a woman that sounded like she was having an orgasm. It was highly, highly distracting for the first 10 minutes. And then once I was able to like really focus on my own breath and like not be distracted by what was going on around me, I felt like I was seeing myself from outside of my own body, and that drove me into a spiral of like studying a lot of different like spiritual practices. I've done Sanaga ceremonies, Hape ceremonies, ice baths, been in text threads with a lot of like spiritual gurus around that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of it is who the people you surround yourself with, your time, your surroundings define a lot of who you are. Two, boundaries in your own life, I think, are very, very important, what you're willing to accept, because the old you doesn't have to, define what you're willing to accept. It doesn't define your current worth. Who you were yesterday isn't who you are tomorrow, because every saint has a future. I mean, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
I love that. Yeah, I think having boundaries is so important. It's so difficult with, earlier you were using the word character. Like, we have these characters in our story, and family can quickly become, these like, I don't want to say toxic. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I think a lot of us deal with family drama, right?
Yeah.
And I think that over time, they can become these characters that we create. Like, we give them a narrative, we give them a face, we give them a tone, and it can truly break down our internal boundaries. And so what I'm trying to do is have peace throughout the day. When I receive news from a family member and it might be like super traumatic or like daunting, how do I like cut that cord and come back to a peaceful place? Because what I've noticed in the past 3 weeks, it has completely put me into fight or flight mode, this like news that I received, and it has thrown my body into a full depression. And I'm doing all of the things like journaling and like meditating and like listening to my spiritual healers online, which totally helps. But it's almost like sometimes I can't even get in the car and drive because I'm so emotionally affected.
I think it's you're being affected by the idea that you're responsible for this other person and their actions. At the end of the day, the only person we're responsible for is ourselves and our actions and how we deal with things and what we allow into our life. I mean, it's tough to accept that you can't save everybody. And you also have to know like what you're willing or able or have the capacity to take on at any given moment, because you have a whole set of things that you're dealing with as a music artist, as a woman, stuff in your career, stuff in your personal life, and all these things weigh down on us. And it doesn't mean you're any less of a person when you're unable to deal with it. It's just learning how you can cope for it yourself.
Let me ask you this. I've been asking myself this question. In a perfect world, what would be the best case scenario, like for what I'm facing right now with the family stuff? And my ego is like right here in the forefront saying, well, in a perfect world, everyone would call you and say, I'm so sorry.
But that doesn't happen in real life, right?
It's all ego. And I'm just like, I really want an apology from a lot of being like, dude, I'm so sorry that I like cut you off or made you feel like nothing. Like, but in order for us to heal and receive a beautiful outcome, the only way to do it is to emit love, right?
Love and then detachment from an outcome.
Yes.
Because I think what you want is you want the outcome right now and you want the apology, but like that person might not be in a mental capacity to even give you an apology or even have awareness of what trauma they might have inflicted on you. So a lot of it is changing your mind state to, I don't need that person in my life, regardless of what the situation is. It would be nice, but I need to be true to myself, because ultimately the person that we're trying to protect the most, all of us, is the scared little boy or the scared little girl inside of all of us.
Yes, that's what it feels like. I feel like a scared child.
And as a woman, you're always put into a position that you're supposed to either be like the subservient person, like making a guy's life better, or the maternal figure. But in this relationship, you don't have to be their mom or their wife. You're equal to them. Like, you got to view somebody as a partner in, like, the things that you're going, especially in the sort of relationship dynamics. It has to be viewed as a partner.
Yeah, you're so beyond right. As a woman, the first thing that we start thinking about is like, what do I need to provide? What do I need to bring if I go to someone's home? Like if I go to my family's home, or, getting on an airplane to go visit certain members of the family or whatever. Like women are thinking like the food, the atmosphere, the interactions. And I feel like men are way more linear in like squirrel, tree, bird, like in the moment type shit. They're not thinking about like how it can affect everyone emotionally, the way that women think of things, Like, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to protect myself. My first thought was like, okay, what do I need to do to, like, make this better? And then it does throw you into a panic.
Because you're put into the maternal situation in this particular relationship from an early age. So you're used to being in that role for this person. Mm-hmm. You're the problem solver for them.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, people have to kind of meet you at your level of where you're at. And then two, I don't think it's necessarily a traditional like gender role thing. I think it's just a awareness of other people's emotional state. Like when we spoke the other day, you mentioned a couple of other things that you were stressed out about. So when I thought of like what sort of like thing, like normally I'd bring somebody like chocolates or a bottle of wine when I meet them for the first time. And I was like, oh, I think she might like a peace and protection bracelet. I feel like that might like flow, because that's kind of what you need when you're dealing with a lot of those moving pieces from what I knew even before today.
For sure. Also, I think what is happening right now in my evolution of like being aware of this type of behavior and knowing that I have to take a step back and before you respond, before you make a move, you have to take a step back and assess the situation and be like, okay, are my boundaries being broken? Mm-hmm. And then you feel guilt for holding boundaries. It's just this massive guilt and like darkness because you want things to be beautiful and peaceful. And like I have memories of back in the day when it kind of was.
Yeah.
So it's just such a surreal thing when life is so different as an adult too. Like being an adult, it's so bizarre because things can really change. And you're just like, are we living in a simulation?
I think about this when I think of Chuck E. Cheese. I remember Chuck E. Cheese being the best pizza. But as an adult, if I'm thinking about it, I used to go to a rat-themed party constantly and eat rat cheese pizza. So, like, the past is always covered with, like, a hint of gold because you're distanced from it. You romanticize the idea of what you once had, but if you keep clinging on to the past, you're never really living in your present. And, you're preventing yourself from being at your greatest. Like, for me, I'm that person that, like, literally takes the shirt off my back and gives it to a friend. I show up for a lot of people. I've lent money. I've done a lot of things for a lot of the people in my life. Ultimately, I realized is I'm never going to receive that back in a lot of these relationships. And once I started setting firmer boundaries in my life, I noticed a lot of people fell out of my life.
Yes.
And I'm okay with it now. I used to care and I used to think about it. I'd be like, I want to go back to this person. And now I no longer care about that. I care about like what brings me joy, what my mission and what my path is. And like, that's kind of like what's drawn me into like being up at stand-up clubs like 4 nights a week. I get to travel, I get to act, I get to, bring joy and laughter, which is something I lacked because I was innately told a lot of times I wasn't good enough or I wasn't worth it or I wasn't enough or I didn't fit this mold. And sometimes you're greater than the mold that people are expecting. So you have to see your own light.
Oh my God, I love that. I actually was just going to get into the comedy realm with you for a moment. I was going to ask, do you use, I mean, obviously you live life and then you take it to the stage, right? Do you have boundaries with like talking about family or friends in your stand-up?
I talk about everything in my stand-up. Everything that kind of happens. Things are sometimes like this is the truth with the comedians. Like some people are like, oh, you lied about this thing. It's not necessarily a lie. Sometimes like when you're telling a story for an audience, it's creative license to make it grander. So there's a bigger like payoff for somebody listening to that story.
Yeah.
So you got to like learn that. I used to like be so worried about being like, oh, I'm exaggerating this story. I'm going to make this person feel bad. And sometimes I've had to have that conversation and be like, nobody really thinks this is how you actually behave. I over-aggrandize this story, but like I posted a story the other week on my Instagram, which said, I got off the phone with my mom and I called my sister to talk shit about my mom, but I realized that my sister was on the phone with my mom. So now they're both talking shit about me. My mom in my family text thread calls my sister and it's like, did you see what he posted about us? So I called my mom today and I was on the phone with her. She's like, oh, I was on the phone with Ansa. I hung up on her. You can call her now. Just let her know that I'm going to give her a call back later. But like, and she's like, damn, like, you know, why does mom always do this to me? And I'm like, the truth is, a mother's last love is her first son. And a son's first love is his mother. And you can tell a lot about a guy by how he treats his mom.
Wow. I feel like I've made kind of a miniature promise to myself that I'm not going to acutely bring up certain family members and how our family history has affected them, because it is so serious that it's like they're not here to defend themselves or to like speak on it. So I feel really like if I were to become a stand-up comedian, I don't even know if I would have the audacity. I probably would. But right now I feel like it would be a no for me to bring up just because it's just beyond.
Fresh.
Yeah, it's beyond.
Yeah.
It's just like so fucked up.
Sometimes you need separation in between the moments so you can also reflect on how you feel. I don't believe in responding to something when you're angry, because when you're emotional about something, you're not necessarily like able to process or view the whole story on both sides. Because I had somebody tell me this, if you live life like somebody else did, you'd think the same way that they did. So like they have a tint on the way that they're living their life, and they have their boundaries, and they have things that they project onto other people. Because often we think people are certain types of humans until you actually get to know them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's people that you know that are in relationships with people that you think are like, oh my God, I only wish I had a partner like that. But behind closed doors, you have no idea what's going on and who that person really is.
And then someone ends up getting murdered.
I mean, you've been listening to too many white girl podcasts. You know?
No, I feel like it kind of rings true. I feel like I always feel like I'm in danger with men to a certain extent at some point. And I think maybe that's something I obviously need to work on internally. But I do always feel kind of scared.
I mean, with what I've seen on SVU and murder podcasts, it generally is a white woman.
Thank
so
you.
Maybe you just have good like survival instincts, you know? You're like that gazelle on like Animal Planet that's like looking around. You see the lion coming, you start running.
Yeah.
All the other gazelles like, why is she running? There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Then the lion pops out.
Maybe I'm just attracted to like dudes that are on steroids or like.
Got a thing for the bad boys.
You know who I saw on your page? Hasan Minhaj.
Hasan Minhaj, great guy.
Okay, so I want to know.
Yep.
Do you think that what happened to him was fair? Because for those of you who don't know, he is so talented. Like, I loved the special that he got
Do you see the new one?
demolished for. What year? 2024?
The one that just filmed like a couple months ago, because the photos from the taping of his new Netflix special.
Oh, shit. No, I don't think I've seen it. But wait, my question is, do you think how people reacted, because he took his personal stories and he embellished upon them, do you think that was wrong of him? Do you think the reaction from the world was wrong? What's your opinion?
How many comics do you think are doing that? I think the majority of comics are embellishing their stories to make it more grandized.
Yeah.
But also part of what they're doing is they're storytelling. They're entertainers. They're on a stage. People aren't coming to know like a autobiographical story of a specific entertainer.
Right.
They're coming to hear a grandized story that feels relatable and connects with them. Because there's like different styles of comedy. There's relatable comedy. There's insult comedy. There's the new generation of like fuck boy or fuck girl comedy. There's, you know, a lot of the female comics have like when they start off like the same bit about like their genitalia and like smells. I don't think that that's probably accurate. Like, is somebody going up to a woman that says, can you believe how bad my vagina smells on stage, and like calling her out and going to TMZ and being like, you said your vagina was smelly. It's not.
Wow.
know,
Well, I mean, I've never heard, I feel like Nikki Glazer will definitely like go straight for the dick jokes, but like I don't hear her like maybe she does.
I've been to like
I
5 female comic shows, like all comics.
Yeah.
And like there's at least one that makes the same joke. And it's supposed to be like the female equivalent of like the dick joke.
Yeah.
But like, are these things necessarily real? I mean, I think in some scenarios, if you're lying about something like what Jesse Smollett did about getting attacked, I think stuff like that is wrong.
Beyond. Yeah.
But like, if you're embellishing like a family story or something small, I again don't really know what Hasan
I think
did.
the reason why people took it to heart is because there is so much sadness and there's no justice right now for women because of like
Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade. For him to bring up his wife in the pregnancy and all of that, and kind of, I think that.
Oh, see, I'm completely unaware of this. I had no idea it was about that. I thought it was about like his story of like his family's mailbox getting destroyed and that being like that. Because that's what I heard. That's the one that I heard about. And it's like, it didn't happen to my family, but it happened to tons of other families. That happened to my family.
Oh my God.
So like, I related it to that. I'm like, that's a real story. As a brown kid growing up in Boston, Boston's a great place. If you like sports, if you like education, if you're into Dunkin' Donuts, awesome place. One rule, be white.
Damn.
Like when I play Grand Theft Auto, I stop when it gets to a plane mission. I don't play that mission at all. I leave it alone.
Wow.
If I hop into a friend's car, I had a rapper friend pick me up and he bought a Porsche 911. I call it a 911 so people know if they do injury to an Indian person, there's going to be a longer wait at Cedars-Sinai Hospital.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that shit is all real for sure.
That's all real, you know?
But I mean, it's so dangerous because we're dealing with millions of Americans that like have misinformation. And I think like when you talk about like anything terrorist related, I think it like people don't even really know what his intention was. I think it just gets spun immediately.
Like, that one I understood, but like if there's something about like, you know, female body anatomical rights, there's no real say that a man should have over a woman's body, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how it feels to have a baby. I don't know how it feels to have someone inside of me like that, you know? Like these are experiences that are foreign. How can I quote or even have an opinion, you know? Because the female struggle, there's so many things that are even beyond like consideration as a guy that I'm not going to think about. I'm aware of what a lot of women deal with. I have sisters and I have like a mom and a grandmother. There's certain things I can sympathize or think I kind of get, but you don't fully understand any other person's struggle.
Right. I think it's also about like how shit is presented, truly, because it was so melodramatic. Like it was so, like I was crying when I watched his last special, you know? So it wasn't just like laughs. Whereas like, you know, Bill Burr could get in trouble for everything he fucking says, but it's the way he's like presenting it.
I did a show with Bill Burr a little while ago, which was awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. Like I could get mad at Bill for being a misogynist, but like it's kind of the way he like rolls it into loving women at the same time, you know? Whereas like I think with Hasan, it was so just into the ground, like dramatic. And it really like ripped our hearts out of our chest that I think that's why so many people were up in arms about it.
I think it's also just tough as a comic because like as a comic, you're supposed to make a polarizing statement one way or another.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are not being that serious with the statement that they're making. They're just making a dramatized statement to make a point so that people laugh or feel something.
Right.
They're trying to draw an emotion out of people.
Yeah.
It's not really a subject narrative of what's right or wrong. I think a lot of times people are just trying to, you know, do their best to get better at their craft. And also, regardless of how great a comic is or they're accomplished or they're world touring like he is, we're all learning and we're all growing.
Yeah.
You know, who I was yesterday isn't who I'm going to be tomorrow. And each experience will teach you a new lesson that you didn't even know that you needed to learn, you know?
Right. I mean, for me, when I joke about like how all of my children are in heaven, because like I have been through 2 abortions, and you know, when I see women like Chelsea Handler joke about it, but she's in an arena with a bunch of people that already love her, and we're seeing that uproar of laughter when she's like fucking around about how Plan B is like her daily vitamin. You know, like, but for women like me who have been through such a traumatic situation, it's like, I'm like, you know, laughing so hard because I'm like, oh my God, thank God she's making light of this, you know, like it's so fucked up. And so when I say it like in a podcast interview, I'm like, we don't have an arena. Like, and when we're editing these clips together for Instagram, it's kind of like, fuck. Like, I feel like, how do I edit this in a way where it's like people can still hold a warm, fuzzy teddy bear as we're talking about like some harsh, crazy shit?
Got to find the right audience for you. I think that's the biggest thing here is I don't have an arena yet, you know?
Yeah.
You should never like doubt where that could go. But like if it touches one person in a meaningful way, it's real. Like I meet a lot of comics that are like, I need to like have this clip blow up, or I need to be in this show, or I need to be on that thing. We're all on our own journey. There's nothing that's right. There's nothing that's wrong. There's no one that's really like holding you back a lot of times. It's just, you got to find your specific audience. It's not like someone's taking something away from you.
Right.
You got to be able to connect with your audience. Like I try and stay, if it's possible, if I'm not booking 2 shows a night, I will stay to the end and try and talk to anyone that wants to talk to me about my set, good, bad, or otherwise, because they're entitled to their opinion. And it's wild because like a lot of comics are like, I just want to say my act and do what I want. And if the audience doesn't get it, they're dumb, they're stupid. And I hate that because at the end of the day, this is a person that is paying between $25 to $60 for a ticket.
Hell yeah.
A 2-item minimum, which a beer is like $10, a mixed drink is $20.
It's expensive.
So it's about $100 per person to come out and support live comedy.
Yep.
You need to love your audience. You need to support those people back, and you need to learn, like, you got to be true to your own point of view and you're authentic to like what you think is like funny. But you have to also learn that like, hey, this isn't hitting over and over and over in any audience.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to pivot my material. I need to figure out what's wrong with it. I need to play around with the structure, the wording, or maybe I just need to like, get some new inspiration out there. And ultimately, I think we need to spread more love because all the time I see artists that are like, I deserve this, I deserve that. None of us are entitled to any of it. It's really like, what can you bring to other people? It's like servant leadership,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like as you're talking, I'm thinking of like male comics specifically that make me feel good as a woman, and like Joe Coy is definitely one of those guys where I'm like, and John Mulaney, where I'm like, I can get through an hour and just love them. And I'm never going to feel like, that was like cringe. I feel like that's the goal for men. And then like for female comics, it's kind of like, how do you get the girlies to love you and also get the men to be like, she doesn't hate us, but like we get it. Like we think it's funny too.
Eliza Schilsinger, she's hilarious.
Right, I know.
She's one of my
love
favorite
her.
comics. Also an Emerson alum like myself, Bill Burr, Jay Leno.
Yeah.
A lot of funny people at Emerson. Eliza is so entertaining. Her physical humor is awesome. Her ability to storytell as a woman and have the dichotomy of both being funny and also like a mom now is really just an amazing testament. I think there's no limits. I think a lot of times we put these limiting beliefs in our head a lot of times. Like I saw Bill Burr clip, honestly, and Bill was talking to a female comic and she's like, I don't have any opportunity as a female comic. And he said, everyone has the same opportunities. Like, look at me, I'm a white guy. How many white guys do you see trying out for the same slot? And the truth is, there's a very limited opportunity of success for everyone going after comedy.
Straight up.
Everyone has a very, very limited opportunity. But the goal is, if you think you're great, figure out how you can support the people around you. How can you bring up other people around you? How can you give them a platform to grow themselves? Because I truthfully don't feel like I'm losing any shine if I'm giving another male or female comic a shout out, but I do believe in reciprocity. I think reciprocity is a big thing. There's a lot of people that don't reciprocate things or just constantly ask. I think there's healthy boundaries, but I think if you want to do something, get up there, speak in your truth, and eventually you will find that right audience because I don't know if women are more populous than men, but there's definitely close to 50-50, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is truth in how people perceive like anybody that's on a stage, right? Like, and it's kind of like when you're trying to like groom the president, like what colors should they wear? How should they wear their hair? I mean, that's like a rough topic to bring up, but it's like, how do we get the world?
I think I did okay with my hair.
How do we get the world to love this person, right? And there are fucking tricks that work, that make that, if I do this, this, and this, the crowd's gonna fucking love me. Like, there are things. And like, we wouldn't have acting coaches or comedy coaches if they didn't know those things. And so I find it crazy when like you have a vet or like a comedian or like even singers that have been around forever and they're like, well, I'm headlining and what? And it's like, no, bro, like they're using your name, but like you have a shitty fucking attitude. And like a lot of your comedy is super offensive. So maybe you should take the time to take a step back and like learn the new climate of the world. I feel like everyone, I mean, like even Madonna, like you can, hold on, I have like a plant in my fucking hair. I feel like everyone has room to evolve. It doesn't matter if you're the headlining the biggest dick in the room. It's like, how are you making all of the little people feel?
I was in a bathroom line with Madonna once.
Really?
And it was a very memorable bathroom line because a woman cut the line in front of everybody that was waiting in line. And she said, sorry, I have to cut the line. I have I forget the however many hundreds of thousands of followers she had. And she said, excuse me, miss, but there's a grouping of people waiting in line. She's like, yeah, but you just don't understand. I'm kind of like a big deal. And then she was like, I get being a big deal, but I'm Madonna and I'm able to wait in the line.
Oh my, the lady didn't know that it was Madonna?
I mean, it's like a dark party type thing. It's like a big event. So there's a lot of people that are like very well known and famous. But this person just was so used to being the top person in that environment. And she did it politely. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like, listen, if anybody's going to come on, it's going to be me. But it's like, hey, you definitely know who I am. I operate with one name. And I think that's a level of like, you know,
talk about an ego
integrity.
death.
I think there's some integrity there, you know?
Wow, that's so wild. I mean, yeah. Shout out to Matt Cady and Valerie Young, who are running her tour right now.
Oh, I love that.
And they both have done 3 of my music videos now. It's not easy working for and with Madonna. It's really hard.
She's an icon.
She is an icon. And another thing about Madonna is that she is looking at pop culture and going, okay, how can I continue to contribute? How can I use my voice? I mean, she's talked about all of the fucked up shit that we're going through and like put it on herself to say it on stage. You know, she's not like one of those celebrities that's like, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want the backlash. So I commend, shout out to Madonna. Okay, so you are lying on stage. Great. Amazing.
Not lying on stage. I take my real life and I say most of it accurately. Sometimes I change the date of it, the date that things happen to make it a little bit more relevant, or like add hyperbole depending on where I'm at so it's relatable to that specific audience, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I know. I was just giving you shit. Just trying to ruffle your feathers a little bit. What are your comedy influences? Like, when did you start doing stand-up?
I've done stand-up for a while, secretly. It was a secret thing I did.
Okay.
That and salsa dancing was my secret passions.
Oh.
Yeah, I like dancing. You know, I watched all the early 2006 dance battle movies.
Oh
like
my
You
God.
Got Served.
You know what? Shout out to Johnny Rice, who was on the show, and he was in the original. Well,
I don't know. You Got Served?
yes.
That was like one of the first ones.
You Got Served.
I think Robert Hoffman, great dancer.
Yes.
Taught at Millennium for a while. But no, like I did comedy in Boston for a little bit. Moved out to LA originally. I was working with Playboy magazine, producing some of the parties at Playboy. When Hefner was still alive, then I ended up writing like some dating and relationships tips for men's magazines, a variety of them. Talent scouted for a few different like bikini lingerie magazines. Ended up being a talent casting person for a variety of feature films that filmed in Boston. Captured like basically I casted like the hot girl role under 5 lines speaking local talent castings. So I did a lot of those castings, and then from there I started a management company, represented a variety of models, got a couple of people into magazines like Maxim, represented a couple of NFL athletes, a lot of rappers, did digital influencers at the start of digital influencers, and then kind of had an existential crisis of like what I was doing in my career, and I decided to go after what I wanted to do, which was I wanted to be Carson Daly, and people thought I was funny, and I booked my first show out here. I started off at the Roosevelt, did a show with like Jeff Ross, Kato Kaelin, O.J. Simpson's roommate at that period of time, and I think Jay Moore was up on that stage. I remember after I was like, hey, like I'd love like your thoughts. Like I'm trying to do comedy, and Jay Moore gave me the best piece of advice, which is why I think I've told you this for what you're trying to do, which is you are doing. You are creating a podcast. You are in the process of doing it. I saw him like 6 months after I got into my comedy career. I'm like, I really appreciated that comment. That was like the kindest comment I got when I started off in comedy, because I didn't have any hand ups. I didn't have friends in the scene.
Yeah.
For the most part, I get booked purely based on the fact that like I try and I show up and I'm easy to work with.
Yeah.
And that's how I book my gigs on the road too, is like I work hard to like get those and be as likable or as like much of a value add to that performance and promote that to my audiences. And I think a lot of times it's really just pure humility and then having like your why in place.
Yeah, I think as a woman in Hollywood, I have so many questions because I moved here in 2010 and it was like really fucked up, like the way that women were being treated. And being like a female singer in the pop music industry, like every single man was like, oh, perfect. She has no parents. She's by herself. She's desperate to be a star. Easy to manipulate this girl, you know?
She's got money and friends and she's got hopes and dreams. A story as old as Hollywood.
But the other fucked up thing is that I was really talented. And so it was like a no-brainer. And every single person I came across was like, you're a superstar. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. And every single time it was like that guy wanted to hook up with me, or, you know what I mean? And so it always like turned into this like chaotic, fucked up, sad story of like, I'm never going to have a career because these men are not handling me properly. When you were representing these models and like working at the Playboy Mansion, like, did you see these girls like being gaslit and manipulated and like treated like shit?
Honestly, not really in my experiences, because a lot of times they kept people that did like casting separate from photographers. Everything was kind of segmented, so no one really had that power dynamic in my experience there. You know? Other people have had different experiences, but for me, it was just everything was segmented out. I think that's also a big part with working with female talent is you can't be romantically entangled with talent that you represent.
It happens though.
It messes it up. Actually, I've had the opposite that happen actually with one female talent that I did rep at one point, that came out of a bathroom and she was naked and her assistant left the room. And then she said, my other friend said that you wanted to sleep with me. And I was like, beautiful girl. I'm going to be honest. Very, very beautiful girl. But in my mind, I'm like, we are making a good amount of money together. And this is the dumbest thing to do because that creates a blurred line. So you got to have the wherewithal to kind of pull yourself away from wanting to cross that boundary. Even if you are attracted to that sort of person, you got to know where you can separate the human and the idea of somebody trying to advance their career. And those lines should never be like blurred, because if you blur those lines and it's not consensual, you inflict trauma onto somebody else.
Exactly. And it is trauma. And when you say like, I'm booking shit just purely on the fact that I'm showing up in my personality, for artists like me out here, who I have been signed 3 times and I've performed at every single venue, and now I'm just scared to even leave my home because I've been through so much crazy shit. And I don't want to feel like, okay, I'm a waste of talent. And so I started the podcast because I was like, I need to rebuild how I view human beings. Literally.
I've been roofied 4 or 5 times myself.
Damn.
I've been roofied. I've been GHB'd.
Wow.
It's terrifying. So I can relate to you on that.
Yeah.
But don't limit your shine for other people and like their negative stuff, you know?
I'm not.
That's
but
a reflection on them.
No, I know, but I'm speaking on this because I know a lot of girls specifically that are like homebodies now, because they're just like, why? What is the point? And when you talk about your why, like for me, doing this show is like, a lot of people that come on here, even like some of the bigger name comedians, have literally never done an on-camera interview. And I feel like it's so powerful for us as humans to finally get on the mic in front of the camera and spit facts. Because it's like, we're literally changing the fabric of show business by doing these interviews, truly. And for me, it's like, I feel like the baby steps back into the light. Like, I feel like I'm building my soul back together to then be able to maybe step back into music in a different world, like with female engineers and producers. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just like, it's crazy because as you're telling me like your story, like the vision in my mind is like what I went through when I first came to LA. Cause like bringing up like the girls that are in that vibe, you know? And I'm just like, that first thought, it just hits me of like, oh my God, like the toxicity of the world.
I mean, I deal with the same problems, but in the exact polar opposite end of that spectrum because I don't fit into that world. I've produced parties with my name and my company logo on it, and I've been kicked out by my own security that I'm writing their check at that point, you know? I'm the person that produced it. I'm the person that invited all the girls. I'm the person that invited the celebrities, and I've been kicked out of my own event. And I've also had people that have met me thinking I wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I had a girl come to an event, and I'm very big on like, my parents are first generation immigrants. I believe that you need to treat anybody that's working any job with a level of like respect.
Yeah.
This girl was being really rude to the check-in girl at this like casting thing that we were doing. And then she was like, no, I need to get in there. I'm sleeping with the guy that's producing it. And I thought it was like the designer that we were working with. And I'm like, yeah, just have him message me. He knows the guy that's at the door. And then she's like, no, I'm sleeping with Ashwin Jacob. I gave him like the best blowjob of his life. His toes literally curled.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not that slutty, okay?
Oh
I know
my
who I'm
God.
sleeping with, but I'm like sitting there. I'm like, did this happen? Like, when was this? Like, am I an asshole in this scenario? And it turned out like I did not know this one. I'm like, wait, Ashwin Jacob is in like this guy, and she looks at me and is like, same person. She walks away. But like, it was at that level that I was like, did this happen?
Wow.
I honestly, I would cast that girl for a movie if that girl came into an audition. Probably one of the best actresses because I was half convinced that this happened.
Oh, wow.
I was like, did this actually happen? Like, do I know you? Because she said it with such conviction. Like her vocal tonalities were like so on point.
I think that it's important to bring that side of it up too. And every time I interview a female singer, I speak to the younger singers out here, and I always tell them that there's two sides to it, right? Like it's not always the predator, the male predator. Sometimes it is the woman using her sexuality to get a leg up or like to get her foot in the door. And my advice to the young girls out here always is like, just don't do it. Because then it kind of like puts a weird stamp on your forehead, and people kind of like see you as someone that doesn't have dignity or like they're not being respected or whatever. And so now we're in this era of like women are completely independent of men, and they're just like, if one thing is done or said that is inappropriate, boom, like everyone's in trouble. So like, you know, it's kind of like we're here now.
And from the male perspective, I have guy friends that have like nice houses that are successful movie producers or have like done some like pretty like noteworthy things, and they've told me the exact opposite and told me stories of like how they like met a girl and they have girlfriends that have told them about girls that go to specific neighborhoods, specific areas, or outside of specific agencies, try and match with guys on dating apps, go on a date with them, and then like soft pitch them and then say that they're a predator because they don't want to take them seriously.
Right.
When they went on a date, like you're on a dating app, you went on a date with a person and then you pitch them on doing business. And then when that person's no longer interested in continuing the date.
For sure.
I think there's a very moral ambiguity on both sides that both people need to be aware of.
Yeah.
But I think that's also where like, you know, statements of consent and stuff like that need to come into place. It's not sexy, it's not attractive, but I think if you play inside baseball a lot of times, you need to kind of express those boundaries that, hey, this person can't do that. And a lot of times I find like these crazy stories of people telling me, I went on a date with this guy and he was an actor in this movie and he said, I'm going to be in this movie because I slept with him. And I'm like, from my understanding, I don't think like if you're cast in a movie to be an actor, you don't really have the say in casting. Casting is a whole separate like department. So it's like
trips
a
me
wild
out.
thing, you know?
It really does trip me out because I'm thinking, okay, it's 2024. We're not really even doing that anymore. But it's not true. It is still happening a lot,
I
right?
got picked up in an Uber outside of a talent agency, and I'm not a talent agent or a talent rep anymore. I'm a stand-up comic, and I'm an actor myself. So I'm no longer in that power seat of like, hey, I'm trying to help someone with their career. I had a woman child locked me into the car once I got to my destination and a cappella sing to her own song. And that was her strategy. I commend her for like the effort and like the go-getter attitude for it. But like,
oh my God,
that
the
was equally
locking
like,
of the doors.
yeah, I was like trapped in like a child-proof seat listening to somebody a cappella sing. Like I'm Simon Cowell. And I'm like, I don't know. I can sing I Can Show You the World by Aladdin, okay?
Jesus. Yeah, for me, I also tell girls and boys, or however you identify, to learn how to produce, learn how to engineer, learn how to do it yourself, which is what I decided to do because I was like, okay, Rochelle, if you're so miserable and you're tired of like having men help you and then it turning into a fucking crazy thing, then like just do it all by yourself. And it is like the harder, longer road, but I'm just like, I'm hitting a wall. I'm like, I can't, my body's rejecting the other life like 100%. So that's why I like just created the studio and learned how to do it myself because I'm like, this is it for me. This is my only option, you know?
Honestly, that's really impressive because like I had a top 20 podcast, the studio that I worked with, they weren't really recording sessions during like COVID. And I kind of let my podcast fade to the background because the idea of like managing a whole set of cameras and lighting and all that stuff was overwhelming for me. I'm going to be straight up. I'm like, I like being on camera. I like being on screen, but like, did I want to go through this process of editing out these clips? I get anxiety trying to do my own like social media clips. Like I just post it. I never think about it. Like, you know, I just put it out there for the world and I let the people judge.
Yeah. And now for me, earlier today, I was like, okay, just get out of bed. You can do it. Like so depressed. And then I'm like looking forward to the fact that like you're coming here and like having people come here like is my fucking lifeline now. Like it keeps my head above water. Like it pulls me out of my fucking depression. Cause I'm like, now I have to clean the house and like get my shit together because there's a human coming over, you know?
Also, as a millennial woman, you're dealing with a different female struggle that wasn't really a thing if you talk to like your grandmother or like, you know, someone around that sort of age, because you're expected to be feminine and submissive in like your relationship, but you're also accepted to provide for yourself. So you're being the girl boss that you're told to, like the boss that you're supposed to be with is the person that you have to be to survive and build a career for yourself. Yeah. Especially as an artist, a lot of times I think you're put in a situation that like you can either be eye candy for someone else, but it's really controlling like the male gaze, taking power back in that because there is a level of power. Like women do things that men can never do, which is like give birth, raising children. So much of like your children's value is instilled in them by their mother, you know? So the maternal instinct, I think, is a very big thing that shouldn't be frowned upon.
Right.
As much as it is in society. I think a lot of women like feel the need to like hide their maternal instinct or like feel bad that they like baked something for like their coworkers or be put down and be like, oh, you're being like a housewife who you're trying to impress. And I'm like, that's sad because like you're doing something out of an innately good place sometimes.
Yeah.
And femininity is being discouraged in that way.
Well, also when women use their sexuality and then we get hurt, it takes women much longer time to recover than historically than men. You know, men can like get rejected or like fuck all these people and they're not like in a corner rocking back and forth crying and sobbing, you know?
I don't know. I think honestly we're much more sensitive than y'all think we are. Because I get sad. Like, you know, like I'm like, damn, like you can't just be in a monogamous relationship. Everybody's out there just doing whatever they want with everybody else. You know, I'm just like an Aries sun, Leo moon, Virgo ascendant. Trying to find somebody to watch a movie with. And by watch a movie, I mean actually watch a movie start to end.
Are you hearing this, Matt Rife? Oh my God.
Nobody wants to watch a movie these days, you know? A cute regular movie date, not a movie premiere, but a standard movie date at the Grove. I love that sort of thing.
It's
adorable.
Ashwin got bars, ladies. bars.
I think it's adorable. I think like an idea of like a thoughtful date or like cooking together. I think something like that is fucking awesome. Like I got into cooking because like I enjoy that act of like trying to think of like what somebody would like. I think a lot of times we get stuck in this idea that like once my career, these things go well for me, that you're not present in your human relationships. Like I love just getting dinner with a friend and like doing something low key and not a sceney spot, but like something low key that's stupid and you can just have some fun and laugh.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I fantasize about having like an all-female team of like bitches that I know, like my hood street bitches that like have my fucking back and they have nothing to do with show business. They're just like bulldogs. And like, that is my fantasy dream, is to just have a bunch of badass women that like have my fucking back, making money and like just like
Supporting each other's goals. I think that's a very
Yes.
beautiful thing. And I don't think enough people do that for their friends. I mean, this is
Yeah.
played out like Instagram meme, which is like, you're ready to promote Kylie Jenner's like cosmetics line, but your friend starts a business and you don't share it. I think that's something that we need to see more of in our society and our culture. And I think a lot of times, most guys, like, especially I'm a man over 30. It was my birthday last week, and most guys don't have that many male friends. I'm very fortunate that like I go to dinner like a couple times a month with about 12 to 14 other guys. It's a rotating group of about 80 of us. And you get to have experiences from different people that are different ages and have different levels of success. And you kind of share a lot of that sort of thing. And I think the tribal aspect of like society is very much so long and lost for millennials who are struggling with student debt, a whole new set of pressures, constantly being observed on social media,
Yeah.
and constantly needing to be perfect instead of being the person that they are. And I think that's a problem that you also deal with when you are an entertainer or a creative, which is like, yes, I'm a comic, and yes, I've done a lot of things, but like, if I'm going on a date with somebody, I don't want to go to a party where I know a ton of people, because then I'm playing a character. And the character that I play on stage is very much so myself, but it's not me authentically as a human and how I want to be perceived by somebody that I'm pursuing. I think a lot of times people get lost in the sauce that like you have to be this sort of person. Like your music photos are very like sultry. You got the boots, you got the look, but you're like, hey, sometimes I'm a sad girl. I got some sad girl shit going on in my life, and I just want to let my emotions loose and be in a big hoodie and sweats, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And like, I think that's a big part of like what people don't really understand is, as people, you need to be willing to accept each other at like our lowest and our most human. Because I don't think a woman, I think a woman is her sexiest in like sweatpants, a big hoodie, and like an updo. Because like that's the real person that you're actually with. That's the human beyond the persona.
mean, let me riff off of that for a moment, because I feel like being in front of the camera has finally given me the opportunity to have people meet me for the first fucking time. Because when we see these girls on the internet and it's just them being sexy, we have no fucking clue who they are. And I feel like there's a lot of artists still that have never done an on-camera interview. And it's like, we need to know who the artist is. But like, what's your opinion on this though? Like, and this is like, just everyone relax, don't come for me. Like, just throw a bit of comedy into this conversation, because I don't want to be hating on people, but like, this is like full spectrum. Like, some of our friends, we love them, but it's not like we're like fans of their shit, you know? Like, I will repost or like share shit that I truly think is good, you know? I think back in the day when we weren't hearing from celebrities, it was so cool because there was mystery and like, you know, mystique. And when you see them, it's like, oh shit, it's a celebrity. It used to be so cool. Whereas like now they're like on camera for everything.
Having a breakdown.
Does it ruin the music for you when you finally meet who the artist is? Like when you find out who they are as a person?
I don't think you should ever meet your heroes. Like there are some music artists that I've had the opportunity to meet that I'm a fan of, and I don't want to meet them. Because it's only going to ruin it. Like, there's some music artists I know very, very well that people are huge fans of. And they're like, oh, my God, this person's awesome. Like, would you be able to introduce me? And I'm like, I don't even like being around this person.
Right.
You
like,
know?
right now, it's hard for me. I can't listen to Justin Timberlake right now because I'm, like, kind of mad at him.
I actually have a book I want to recommend to you that I think you'd really, really love.
But do you know what I'm saying? It's like we hear these stories in the news and then all of a sudden it puts a bad taste in our mouth. Or like we'll see an interview or like even Matt Rife, like we'll see a special and they'll be like, yeah, the woman with the black eye put her in the back. Like, why would you even let her serve us food? It's like now I don't even want to watch your comedy because that put such a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I mean, do you feel like there should be more mystery or do you feel like this is like better for people to like be in front of the camera and like really, I don't know. I feel like only
there's two angles of it. There's two angles of it, right? So the book I'm going to recommend to you is called Gender Branding in the Modern Music Industry by Kristen J. Lieb. She was one of my professors at Emerson. She wrote about like the male gaze and the making of a female pop star. She studied case studies of several artists, including Britney Spears, who is managed by the iconic Larry Rudolph in an era that like social media was like in its early infancies and it wasn't really as big of a thing.
Yeah.
Social media provides an vehicle for your celebrity to have a piece of digital real estate. That digital real estate has an intrinsic value based on the eyeballs, and you're able to convert just like a network, right? So I think that is a powerful thing for an artist to take control of their future and have a platform to say what they want to be able to say. But it also creates a double standard because you are a person. We're all flawed. There are things that if I've said 100%, if taken out of context, are going to make me look horrible. And that conversation could go viral tomorrow if I blew up in one specific way. That's every single person in this world. None of us are exempt from that, right?
Yeah.
I think mystery with an artist is great. And I think it's very similar to like, if you're interested in someone, if I know everything about like a girl I'm interested in, the attractiveness or the interest in her goes away.
Yeah.
Same thing with a guy. If you went on a date with a guy and I'm like, hey, I own X and Y businesses and I mansplain crypto to you for 2 hours.
Yeah, no.
You're going to turn into the Sahara Desert.
Right. Yeah, but also I think, you know, some people are just lucky that they're great on camera. Like, you know, when I see an interview with Billie Eilish, I'm like, maybe I do like her.
But how much of it is really the person versus like media training?
Well, it doesn't matter because it's how I feel. Like, for example, right now, Ariana's under scrutiny for all of her shit. And when I see her interview, I'm like, I'm not. And then I see the comment section and they're like feeling how I'm feeling. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, this is not good, girl. You know, so it's so wild. Like, the second we get on camera, it's like, you're either going to be loved or hated. And it's like, you don't have control over that shit. Or do you?
I don't think you do a lot of times because there's so many media manipulators and masters of marketing that think something could be a great idea. Like, remember the Pepsi ad for BLM? They thought that was going to be a hit. We have a Kardashian drinking Pepsi at a BLM rally, and then people are like, this is so wrong.
Oh, God.
Like, that could read wrong, but like there's rooms of executives that are getting paid a lot of money. These people are definitely intelligent because they got into that room in that position of power, but they oversaw and they didn't understand how the public was going to react.
Yeah.
Does it mean that these people are dumb? Everyone loves to say like, it's like I have a friend that was a professional athlete and I was having dinner with him and somebody came up and they're like, remember this game that you played in like 5 years ago? You should have done this because if I was on the field, I would have done this or that. And then he's like, I hate when people do this to me. Because how would you feel if you were in this specific situation with a person that's coming at you with the same force as a full-size car? You're going to think differently. So you're not really going to know how you would react until it's out there. So I think you can plan for success, but at the end of the day, there's a level of like luck and timing and like fortune that's, you know, out there.
And you know what? It brings me back to my why, Ashwin.
What's your why? I'd actually like to know your why. I'll tell you my why after.
The feeling that I get is pure joy doing this podcast. Like interviewing you guys, literally, even right now in this moment, it's just pure joy because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, sometimes I do feel bad about the shit that I say out loud. And sometimes the funniest clips are the ones that I feel the guiltiest about. But at the end of the day, the whole messaging behind what we are doing as humans, our intention, our why, is to literally serve others and put our shit on the line to get the message out and help other people, period. Because I know during lockdown, all I did was listen to podcasts and it saved my fucking life. Like it was like the number one thing that pulled me out of the grave. And then I was like, I'm ready to do this. And it was just like, I heard the calling from the universe and it was like, let's do this, bitch. And there's so many back and forth moments where I'm like, this is easy for me. I'm so good at this. And then it's like, yeah, but bitch, is it worth it? Because you're literally going to get burned on the fucking cross for everything that you have said. And it's like, I haven't made it yet. I haven't blown up yet, but I think about it every single fucking day. If any one of us blows up and they go back to this episode or whatever, like let's say you blow the fuck up and then people go back to this episode and like pick it apart. And then all of a sudden we're getting castrated for something we said 2 or 3 years ago. It's like, but if the why is big enough, then that's why we keep doing it.
America loves a comeback. Everybody loves a comeback. And 2, it's like, don't be afraid to be polarizing. Like,
Yeah.
pick an extreme moment. Like, that's what comedy and levity is about. And like, also even with like the fact, like comics, everyone likes to think that their work is so original and so unique. There are billions of people out there. There's a lot of people that have had shared experiences. Like I have a joke about the recorder from 2nd grade. It wasn't inspired Dave Attell's. I've used it before. That I even saw that special the other day.
Oh my god.
But like, if I bring that up right now, like my idea is like, you know, everybody like women like a musician. And I'm like, I'm thinking about getting really good at playing the recorder. And imagine bringing a girl back and saying, you know, I'm a music artist and being a professional recorder player. If I bring that up now, everyone's going to think I stole that from Dave Attell's piece, right? So we're all living this very like unique experience to ourselves. It's all original. It's all creative. And we're all like artists in our own right. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do...
It's all 5 degrees of separation.
Yeah, we're all trying to create...
What is it, 3 degrees, 5 degrees?
I believe it's 6 degrees of separation. But we're all just trying to feel okay and like make it to tomorrow. And I think that's the beautiful part for comedy for me. And like being on screen and having a large internet audience. I had a top 20 podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to, you know, have projects out on not Netflix yet. There's the Netflix projects coming soon. There's a Amazon project that's already out. There's a couple of other projects in development. I'm blessed to have a platform and a voice, but the most beautiful part is I get messages from people years later that told me that they were thinking about like killing themselves when they came to a show, and they realized that this problem that they're dealing with is similar to my problem that I talked about, or like something that happened in my life. And I think as much as there's so many things that make us different or make us hate another person, a lot of these things that we hate about each other are intrinsically so different. Like even with all the conflict that's going on in the Middle East right now, there was a mission that was started out of Emerson College years ago. I wasn't a part of it. I'm just sharing like a story that was told to me by one of the people that like helped build it. But there was a Saudi royal who started like an Emerson exchange, and they brought like kids that went to Emerson to like the Middle East. And one of the employees in this hotel who didn't like Jewish people because what he saw in media and what his representation of Jewish people, he worked as like the chef or like a sous chef in like this nice hotel that these kids were staying at. And he noticed that every Friday he had to prepare like a kosher meal for this guy. And he realized the similarities of like what it was to be kosher versus being halal, and like how similar their practices were. And at the end of this guy who's not like massively educated, that's working a very like regular person job that should hate this other person, was like, I want to meet him and I want to give him a hug because I realized how similar we are to each other.
Wow.
And his family didn't want him to go because they thought he was going to be in danger. But like he saw a different side of a grouping of people that like are also viewed in a negative light. We're all seeing everything through a lens that media gives us. But at the truth, most people just want to be loved. They just want to be cared for. We all just need a hug most of the time. I think if we gave more hugs, like a genuine heart over heart hug to people in our lives, we'd feel better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the duality of it all, you guys.
Duality of man and woman, you know?
Yeah, well, and just the world. There is a lot of darkness, and to be a light is like the hardest job. Let's do a closing manifestation or something. Do you have like a ritual for the crystals, or like I could just do a normal manifestation?
You just do your normal, do what's right for you. The purpose of intention crystals is like the crystals are imported from Hardwar. It's a blessed city in India. It's a second generation local jeweler that like actually like finds stones, puts them together. It's localized employees that work on it together. We find symbols that like have meaning to like Indian culture and just like, mythology or creativity that like give you an idea of like what that feeling is.
Yeah.
The protection one currently has a Celtic knot on it, which is like a trinity, which is represented in a lot of variety of religions. And it's about like protecting yourself. Some people call it like, protection symbol. And it's like, if you look at that and you think that you're divinely protected, you're going to feel that energy, you're going to manifest that, and you're going to behave as such. And I think that's the beauty of life. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to give to other people, is giving them this attention, because oftentimes we don't see the light in ourselves.
Yes.
Like sometimes you need somebody to say something positive to you about your craft and what you do, because as an artist, you're always constantly, like, to be great, you always wonder, I wonder every day, am I funny enough? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? And you have to like have that gentle reminder for yourself, because inside of you, there's that little kid that wanted to be something or is afraid of taking that risk.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it is, can I mentally and physically even handle being in the limelight? And it's so nuts, because it's like, bitch, you better. So as I'm wearing this protection bracelet, I ask the universe to protect me in my journey of finding myself once again, and finding the confidence and the strength and feeling safe enough to walk back into the music industry and to walk back into show business, and to even like fathom having dates in different cities. Like, that is so scary for me. And it's like, I truly pray to the universe as I wear this bracelet, like, please just let that be an easy task. Let that be something that doesn't worry me or scare me anymore.
Yeah.
And so it is.
I love it. Great.
Okay. And then you do a manifestation. What do you want in the next 6 months?
I want, more happiness.
More happiness.
More happiness. I think as a comic, you're trying to find happiness in your day-to-day existence.
That's it? That's all you want?
Happiness, prosperity.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Happiness, prosperity, love. That's all we all want.
I want a fucking mansion.
We can find you a mansion. What's your style? What do you like? Mid-century, modern?
You brought up Scottsdale. I've been there one time as like a young teen, and I saw the homes there, and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? I mean, those homes are like on some jungle Adobe desert steroids.
I have a beautiful Airbnb out there that has a lagoon.
Oh, goddamn. Like, I think I want lots of palm trees and like the driveway, like water placements, and like just... I want it to feel like the Venetian Hotel or something. I don't know.
I love the Venetian Hotel and Casino.
And I want the Forum in my house.
The Forum Malls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to live at the Venetian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
It's doable. There's residences.
Who owns the Hefner mansion, the Playboy mansion?
It's owned by a different individual right now. I don't know who it is. I forget his name. I think it's like a Greek shipping magnate still, but it might not be.
So we're not allowed to see it anymore? I've been there one time.
I don't know. I think he's still... I don't know if it's finished with... Like, he did some renovations over there.
Oh.
But there was still a zoo last time I checked.
A zoo?
Yeah, there's always been a zoo at the mansion.
I didn't know
Had
that.
a zoo license. They had like a variety of exotic animals there.
And the animals are still there?
I don't know. I haven't been there in a while.
Interesting. Okay, so tell the people where they can find you on the interwebs.
I'm Ashwin Jacob, ASHWINJACOB on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, which is now X, and then that's also my name on Venmo. That's where I'm trying to be an influencer, a Venmo influencer. That's very Indian of me.
Seriously? Is that a thing? Or are you just like...
I'm trying to make it a thing. People send me money, and then like I'll shoot them a message back. I saw a girl write it in her. I saw a girl write it on her Tinder bio once, which is like, I don't get back to all my messages on Tinder, but if you send me a Venmo, I always respond to those. And I was like, I'm gonna steal that idea.
Oh my God, I love that. Artists asking for money should just be a thing.
We're comics, you know, you're barely just surviving most days.
Yes, I know. Well, same with artists, same with singers. Here's our Venmos right here. You guys just send us all the money.
Cash apps also work too.
Yes, Cash App too.
Yeah.
I love it. What's your opinion on Patreon?
Patreon's cool.
It's okay.
It's okay. I think Patreon is...
But they take a percentage.
They'll take a percentage. OnlyFans take a percentage too.
I'm not on OnlyFans.
They do podcasts.
Well, OFTV is separate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing.
It's the same parent company.
Yeah, but you have to submit to them. Okay, OFTV. I want to be on OFTV. Can
I
you
know
guys...
a person.
Okay, let's get Ashwin's episode on there.
I know the person over there.
Okay, perfect. Do something that you love today. Give yourself a hug, journal. We love you so much, and we will see you soon.
Give somebody a hug.
That's right. Bye.